On this episode of Banterpreneurs, we unpack manifestation and how it's not all it seems.
Our special guest, Lucas Dixon, expert in magical thinking in business, explains the futility of goal setting and the psychology of self-sabotage.
And Laura reveals that if she could have, she would have become a dame to have a more successful business.
Yes.
Yes.
Solopreneurs, come on down! Unpacking all your business woes on the go. Your queens of business banter, Laura and Lindsay. You're in for a hilarious half hour of unconventional, unpredictable, unadulterated solopreneur shenanigans, jam-packed with pearls of wisdom and actionable aha moments. Let's get ready to banter!
You watch your views go through the roof. What's gonna happen
Okay,
now?
we're recording now. Shut up. Right, okay.
Me and my 20 Twitter followers are going to troll the shit out of this.
I know.
We have
this
an
will be troll.
unruly guest.
Yeah, he won't shut up, okay? Right, here we go. Hello and welcome to Banterpreneurs. She's Laura. She's a performance coach, professional speaker, amazing human being, and she's just been given a little armchair for her dog, Tony.
Oh, that's true, actually.
A mini one.
Keep an eye out on our socials and I'll post a photo, but just be prepared to go, oh!
That's a good thing, that noise.
Oh, that was a good noise. Yeah, that was
yeah.
like the thing where something's so cute you just want to squeeze it,
Squash
but
it.
you so hard that you kill it.
I've got it. Yeah, I've got cute aggression. There's a name for it. It's
Is
a thing.
that it?
It's a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well that's good. She's Lindsay. She's full of some really, really interesting shit.
Yeah.
And she's also a creativity coach, an improv teacher, and she is wearing a dragon's eye around her neck today.
I like that you've said that because it's not. But I like that much better than what it is, which is basically a magnetic piece of hematite, I think it is. I think that's what it is.
A magnetic piece of ham?
Hematite. It's some kind of crystal that Mum has gotten me. So I don't know if it could be for protection or whatever it is that crystals do. But yeah, I like that dragon eye. That's what I'm going to say from now on if somebody asks me.
That should be your alter ego.
Yeah, dragon eye.
Be careful of dragon eye and her cuteness aggression.
Yeah, true. Okay, so it's very exciting. We've got another guest this week who's quite close to home for me. He is currently doing a PhD in magical thinking in business. I think we all need to know a little bit about that. He is my husband. He is in the other room. And he is possibly wearing boxer shorts. We would never know because I'm in this room and he's in that room. But let me introduce you to my husband, the lovely Lucas Dixon.
Whee! With magical spirit fingers.
Thank you.
And it's really it's a really interesting segue that you're here because this is what you would call sort of like hidden privilege that he got on the show.
Oh, that's true, actually.
Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it?
How hypocritical this conversation is going to be.
It's going to be. Yeah, totally. This is going to be completely hypocritical, guys. But we want to show that. So that's why we've done this.
Yeah,
it's all planned.
Yes.
Everything in this podcast is completely planned. Every bit of minutia, it's all planned.
Yes, it's not improvised at all. We're liars. We're imposters.
Yeah, totally. It's a big master plan from Dragon Eye herself.
Yes.
But basically, as everybody knows, we sort of talk about what I've been thinking about this week. And Lucas and I have talked a little bit about this during the week. So I was kind of like, why not bring this on? So I was watching this TEDx talk. We all love TEDx's. And there was, do we? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Look, if we love TEDx, that's 100% of our love, right? TED Talks are 100%. TEDx, 60, 75.
67. Yeah, totally. And I thought, okay, this looks interesting. So she talks about manifestation and how it's not a thing. Okay, so she's like, it's not a thing. But there is this thing that's scientifically proven, which pretty much sounds like manifestation. And we've spoken about this before, Laura, on the show, this concept where if you want to buy a blue car, for example, you start to see blue cars everywhere. And she's got her penis cup again. Sorry, it's very distracting.
And actually, that's a good point.
I see penises everywhere now.
Yes. This is why I see penises everywhere, because it's on my cuff.
Yeah. So there is a name that she gives this thing, which is an actual name. It's a science name. And I'm going to get the science guy, the PhD person, the only one in the room here with a PhD. What do you know what this is called? What's this called again? That's not manifestation, but it's scientific.
Something to do with Dustin Hoffman.
Of course I do. Of course I know what it is, because I've almost got a PhD.
Yay!
It's called the Bader-Meinhof phenomena.
Right.
The phenomenon, right? Or the frequency illusion. And it's just basically the idea that once you see something, you kind of unconsciously priming your unconscious to see more of that when you're going out there. So the classic example is with the car, right? So you see the car that you want to buy, and then you just start seeing it everywhere every time you go out. So it's not that it's so the idea, I guess what she was saying, well, I'm not sure what she was saying. Maybe this is something to discuss.
It's not clear because it's not great. Like, I'll just put that there. The talk's not great.
No, controversial.
No, I'm just saying,
I guess
I'm a performance coach. She's a performance coach. We're creativity experts. Come to us and find out how to do it.
Yes, come to Dragon Eye and
Dragon Eye. Yeah. So basically, though, this is a real thing, isn't it? Like, it's like a real, like, it's a thing that happens in your brain.
It doesn't need to be proven by science. We all notice it, right? Like when we see something and when we're talking about something, and then, but there's more, the stuff the side of it that she was really talking about was the fact that, like, and I guess the controversial part is, like, does it mean that it's actually turning up more in our experience, or just that we're noticing it more? Like, it was always there. It's just that we didn't notice it. That's what the Bader-Meinhof phenomena is. It just, it's always there. We're just noticing it. But I guess what we want to talk about is...
She bent it a bit. She kind of said that she could manipulate this thing to notice more opportunities.
So did she acknowledge the Dustin Hoffman?
Yes.
She did.
Okay.
She did.
Okay.
That's what she said it was, right? But proceeded to describe it and talk about it in relation to her life as if she was talking about manifestation.
Okay. Can I just quickly interject?
Yes.
To just let our audience know why we think this is important to talk about, because in the small business world, manifestation is a massive subject, and I think, and what we'll discuss today is, you know, the truth or the science or whatever, the theories behind it with our resident expert. You know, we're not going to tell you what to think. That's up to you to decide. However, I think it can be very dangerous for business owners to think that they can get stuff just by manifesting it. So I've seen so many people when I've been coaching saying, I'm manifesting this, you know. One of my favorite quotes that I think I made up was, manifest yourself off your ass and make shit happen. You know, there has to be different components to it. So that is why we're talking about it today, so you can be more informed.
But there's something even more sinister going on here, though. Says Dragon Eye.
Sinister.
So sinister, okay? So she said all this and said that her brain has created these opportunities. She's taken these opportunities, right? And then cynical me has gone to research to find out who is this person and found out that she is, like, got a lot of money and is an heiress to a fortune.
So was she saying that she'd manifested a particular life or a particular amount? Okay.
Yes, to be sure. Her partner, her lifestyle.
The birth of the child, the fact that she's had like 3 startups before the age of 21 or whatever. That she's manifested this amazing life. So it wasn't, and she specifically mentioned that it wasn't just the kind of, I guess, you know, business side of things, but it's the fact that she could have everything she wanted. So not as in the perfect life. And I think that's,
but neglected to sort of say that she was completely, like, disgustingly rich.
Yeah. Okay. And that's where the danger comes, isn't it? Is, you know, especially as business owners, you know, you manifest and you'll get what you want, but then quite often the people that are telling us this, are showing us that that's what they've done. But then, lucky we got some cynical dragon-eyed bitches in the world, like my friend Lindsay here. You know, when you do look at it, not everything is
as it seems.
Ooh.
You know what though? There is a psychological reason kind of why this happens though. Maybe that's something to talk about, which is please. Well, there's two things that kind of happen, right? When people get richer and their lives tend to be quite comfortable, is that people tend to get more conservative. So I'm not saying politically, like this happens to everyone, but it is a tendency that happens, and it actually happens that it also is a tendency that happens as we all get older, and I guess most of us get more comfortable financially as we get older. We tend to become more conservative, and that's probably because we feel quite comfortable in where we're at and we don't want to lose it, right? So our politics tend to be more about like trying to keep what we have, right? Well, we don't want to change everything. When we're younger, we're quite gung-ho about wanting to change everything and like reduce unfairness. But then as we move on in life and we tend to have things, we tend to go towards like thinking, oh no, we can keep what we've got. We don't need to push the boundaries so much. So that's one thing that happens. The second thing that happens is we tend to develop this just world belief, and that is the belief that the world gives us what we deserve. And so, yeah, and especially in the conservative side of things, we tend to believe that, and that can border on like religious sort of belief in karma and stuff like that. The idea that like if you really get in life, you get in what you get out of life what you put in. And
which you've seen I'm wondering, in your scale, right? So you've created a scale, manifestation scale. So people that believe in manifestation will have certain what idiosyncrasies, or what would you call factors, or just or
certain things that relate to that belief system, I guess. And one of them is this real strong correlation with belief in karma, the idea that good and bad, like the way you are now, is rewarded in the future, and that happens through I guess some kind of, I don't know, some maybe mystical, but just if not mystical, kind of vague. It just happens. That's it. That's the way the world is. So.
And that's kind of what she was purporting, that she had sort of created all this success, you know, through doing this thing, when in fact behind the scenes there's this whole other story that's going on, you know, of having a leg up. Really, you know, and she's not the first person. Like I know someone who was working for somebody who is a money manifestation sort of coach. I've just put the air quotes in there, people.
Yes, I was trying to remember what they were called again. I can't commit that to memory.
Money manifestation coach, and quotes coach. They're in quotes, and basically her husband is completely rich. She doesn't really need to manifest money, but she has.
But maybe did she manifest her husband? Oh.
yeah, she probably did, because she has sort of a background of media and knows a lot of people who are also, you know, quite good looking and quite perfect and quite. Do you notice there's a trend here happening of being in a certain echelon and knowing certain people, and how it's a lot easier to get a leg up if you're in those circles. And this is the thing that I worry about people who, if they're looking for people to help them, you know, and especially in money, things like that. You know, somebody says, you know, I've done all this stuff, like, please just research it, man. You know what I mean? Like,
if someone's going to help you, you want to know that they get the struggle and they've actually put in the work and they've made the mistakes and all that shit.
So not just that, but if they are rich, right? Just say they are rich.
Own it, baby.
Exactly. That's what my thing is. Don't
just be
hide
transparent.
And it doesn't just stop here. Like Luke and I got obsessed with this woman, Dame. What's her name?
Dame, what's her name?
Well, let's just call her Dame.
Dame,
right?
we'll call her Dame. She's a Dame.
Yeah.
She's a Dame.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing like a Dame. Yeah, no, but just like a Dame.
A
Dame.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess. Do you want to tell this story now? Okay, we'll tell.
No, you tell the story.
Okay. Okay.
Break it up, kids.
Right. So there's this social entrepreneurial coach, like guru lady, or dame. I should call her dame.
She's a dame.
She's apparently a dame. She's got Dame bloody blah, her name, and then like PhD at the end. And so, of course, because I'm cynical, you know,
as well.
do.
Perfect pair.
I go, okay, so what's this? So I don't know, it's just something, I don't know what it is, but my bullshit detector comes up and there's just something about these people. It's like, oh, who is this person? And selling like these social entrepreneurialism courses for a lot of money. And got the pictures with all the right people and that. And so who is this person? That's kind of what I wanted to know. And I start to look it up and I realized that she's been given this damehood by this group of people, something like the Order of the Knights of Templar or something. And I thought, well, that sounds cool.
Did she have to sacrifice a goat to get into
that? Exactly, right. Is there animal sacrifice going on? And so I look into this further, and for philanthropic deeds to humanity or whatever, that's what she's been.
She got a dame for. Yeah.
So I hunt and I hunt and I hunt, and then I find out that she is. She's given this. Anyone can become a dame with this group of monks.
Hey, Laura, we should go. Where is it?
Yeah, so you got to. Well,
Dame Dragon,
because you've got to be pretty committed because you do have to donate like $30,000 to these monks. Right?
Oh no.
And then because of your philanthropic services to humanity, they have this loophole where they can actually give out damehoods for some reason, and so they will give you, in exchange for this donation, they'll give you the damehood. Then I'm like, oh, okay, so this is pretty. It's stolen valor. You know this term, stolen valor, from like military and that. Well, this is stolen like valor, I think, in some way, but in a. And so then she got her PhD as an honorary doctorate, which anyone can get. Like if you've, I don't know, impressed someone at a university, but this is from like this Indian online university. Basically, she's got this honorary doctorate. So, and so she's doing all these wonderful entrepreneurial courses. And so I guess the question then becomes like, why does she feel the need to have to
be a
represent
dame?
herself like that? If
like high status dame.
Well, yeah. So here's what's interesting was coming into my brain when you were saying that. I did a business course. I won't mention the name. But if you're cynical like these guys, it won't be difficult to find out. The business course. No, I can't even think of a nickname that's not the same name.
Dragon Eye, whatever. Just Dragon Tail.
Anyway, Dragon Tail.
Yeah.
And their whole thing is around becoming a person of influence, and so everything that they teach you is around being the high status person within your industry so that people come to you and you don't have to go and get people and get clients, which makes sense, right? And you see it does work if you are a person of influence, but it kind of promotes be a person of influence at all costs, which is what this lady has obviously done as well.
Literally costs.
Literally 30 grand. And so I just think it's putting the wrong thing in your head, and I think about my journey through that, and it was all like, do media, PR, get in the media, get known for all of this, write a book, all this stuff has been incredibly valuable for me, but I just question whether that was the right focus for me at that time. It also gave me, I guess, delusions of grandeur, because it was like, be over there when I hadn't done what I needed to do over here.
That's interesting. But it wasn't grandeur to the point of damehood, so at least that's okay. You didn't go too
know about it, but I probably would have raised 30 grand.
You didn't realise though that I'm getting a PhD from the University of Queensland in the Bahamas though. You didn't know that. It's a distance.
Yeah. There's lots of palm trees outside.
Well, look, but what's interesting about that? There's so much to talk about there, right?
I know.
But like, what's this stuff? Well,
that's
to me,
two sides of the coin, though, Luke.
Yeah,
because one of them is you really, really, really are rich and have connections and pretend you don't, and then this side is you don't and you pretend you do.
You do. Either way, it's BS.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Thank you for translating.
What were you going to say, Luke?
Well, I guess I was just wondering, like, okay, so here we've been talking a lot about the stuff that happens, right, in this kind of like vanity entrepreneurialism realm or whatever is what I've been calling it, and this kind of other side of things is like, what's the stuff that has to be done, and I just think this is all around. Well, okay, I could tell you a bit about some of the research if you want that I've been doing that points to maybe why it's pushing towards this kind of like image-based, like, I don't know, we're more and more becoming more image based, like rather than like, and making decisions more on what something looks like than like the substance of what's going on. You know? And I think part of it is the online world. And so it's just like when we view online stuff, we just go into these modes of shallow processing in our brain. And so we're just not thinking that deeply about what, whereas if someone's in front of you, I don't know, it gives you a different kind of sense. And you can manage so much more online. Like there's so much more about your image that you can manage. And I think still there's this old school, especially with people our age and older, I mean, is still this kind of sense. Actually, it's not, it's for young people as well. The sense that the internet, if you have a website, it actually means something. So anyone can make a website. Right?
Yeah.
There's something like being on social media and being like having a certain amount of followers. It's just for some reason very convincing to people. And I just think these days it shouldn't be like it's just really not. That can be, anyone can do it. Anyone can buy likes. Anyone can, you know. And so, but it makes it hard, right? Because then we're going to like, well, who do we trust? People don't have trust in like institutions anymore very much. And, you know, like it's just hard to know who to look to. And so people are looking to people more in their social groups, people who are like them, or people who, or if not, who are like them, who they're aspiring to be.
Yeah.
And so, and then people can capitalize on that, like sort of say, I didn't go to uni and I'm not like a traditional expert. That's what makes me like, I'm a rebel, I'm a bloody blah, and market themselves in a way. And that's cool. But it's just, we're in this information space, I guess, which is making things difficult to know like what's real and what's imagined.
Yeah, totally. Oh, sorry, Laura, you go.
I was just going to say difficult for that, but also, and so easy to be a bullshitter.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm just lucky I've got a Scottish mother who, like, anybody that you ever said, oh, this person's really cool, she'll go, but what's wrong with them? You know, that's the first thing that she says. So I'm lucky in that respect. But I wanted to talk about as well, just before we got onto this call, I was telling Luke about this thing that's like an AI that you can put like any question in and it answers the question. You can actually like write essays through AI. So you haven't written the essay. Yeah, like you haven't written it. It's like writing it. So even that, like it's getting harder and harder and harder to know what's real and what's not. So for me, it's like that's why you have to look behind the curtain a little bit more. Yeah. You know, and find out, is this true? She's a dame? Like, what is this?
And I think that then reinforces things like magical thinking, because we're shown this magical world everywhere we look. Yeah. And so then we're also hand in hand given the magical solutions and made to believe that if we just adopt these magical solutions, we too can be part of the magical world that we're seeing.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And magical thinking tends to happen more in environments that are complex and ambiguous. So when we have this need for like, it's kind of called need for closure now, but it's really the idea that like when things get ambiguous, we feel
like certainty, like a need for certainty or something.
We need that certainty around things. And so what's more uncertain really than trying to achieve these long distant goals for life success? And like in business, it's just kind of like there's no rules, like really, and so we're just looking for this wisdom or people to help us. You're kind of going out on your own, and there's no real pathways that are like super clear. And so then when people offer us simple solutions to complex problems, it's very seductive. And so and there's a lot of research that sort of shows that, you know, magical thinking is kind of related to the more that you feel like there's this ambiguity going on in your life and you're trying to find a way to control that. And so I think that could be what's happening as well in these environments. Like you think now how hard there's research that's showing that our desire for material success and status is growing over time, and that there's this environment of like precarious work, right? Like gig economy and like a lot of casualization of the workforce. And so then we're left kind of like, well, what can we do? Entrepreneurialism or, start a side hustle. And of course, like we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of time to invest in this because we're looking after a family or whatever. And so it's just very appealing to go for these more sort of simple solutions that are sort of off saying, look, I've I had to work hard at this for 30 years, and I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I've made. So
oh my God,
my 7-step plan to make this work for you. And if you just follow this, then everything is going to work out.
Yeah, and what's not said is how you had the social capital, or how you knew this person, or how you used to be an investment banker and you had all this money to put into your business, or you had, like all these kind of things.
So, then what does that mean though, right? So what? Because I mean, some people might be listening to that, Lindsay, and like think, oh, but you're just like, so okay, so I can't help it that I've got connections or I've got money. What's so bad about that? So
there's nothing bad about it at all. Just don't bullshit.
Yeah, be transparent.
But that's how you got where you were.
Yeah.
It was all through your own hard work and your own 7-step plan. Because remember as well, the way your brain works, when somebody asks you, how did this thing happen? You have biases. You will always go with the biases that make you look good. That's how your brain works. So they're not going to go, oh, yeah, I was really, I just had everything handed to me on a platter and it was pretty easy. Like, people aren't going to say that. They're going to say, I worked really hard.
Now give me your money, please.
Yeah. yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. I don't have a problem. And in fact, if you are privileged, it's almost your duty to help other people, right? But not through bullshitting them into how to get rich or how to do these things, because you're not normal. Like, you're not in a space where you can sort of say that. Laura, you asked me before, this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but not. You asked me before, what's Elon Musk's background? Well, we're talking about the richest people in the world. And I said it was really weird because Luke and I just looked it up on Wikipedia before I started the conversation with you.
I was literally thinking this last week when I was thinking about Elon Musk, as I, often do.
As you do.
and I was just thinking, I was just thinking, like, he's so freaking rich and doing all this crazy shit. And I was like, I just don't believe there's any way this guy can be where he is now and have come from nothing. There has to have been some sort of large leg up at some point. So it's interesting that I literally had this conversation with someone last week, and then I think we've manifested the Musk.
We've manifested this conversation. Oh, did you go even bigger with manifested Elon Musk?
Manifested
Yes.
That's so funny.
So, but can you clear this up, please? Because I know you guys, like you said.
Yeah. Was he Paul? Was he Oliver? We're back to Oliver. We did that. What was that thing about Oliver we did once? Please, sir. Was he like that? Was that Elon Musk's little Elon with his little hat on and all that? Was that him?
He did. He crawled straight out of cleaning chimneys.
Yeah.
He walked down the road.
One day I'll go into space.
Opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I may not look like much now, but okay.
I'll show you.
All right, that's enough Oliver references. Okay, so is this true? Was he an Oliver-esque character? What's the story?
Well, his father owned a mine, so maybe he had a leg
in
up.
South Africa.
I don't know. Yeah, he owned a mine in South Africa. Half owned. Sorry, only half the mine.
Only half of a mine. Okay,
he had half.
So,
yeah.
So, but here's the thing. I mean, look, and there's some other luck that goes into this, right? So I think father's funded some of his first investments in his own company and some other companies, but it was in the kind of like late 90s. So the beginning of the internet.
Oh, this is the Gladwell thing.
Yeah, so it's like the Malcolm Glad, the book Outliers, which I think we've all kind of read to some degree. It's kind of like it just was the time in which he came to fruition or whatever, right? Came of age was just perfect timing for the tech sector, right? So there he is, like online services basically was his kind of thing, and so he was able to make these investments then. And then it was around financial services on the internet, so PayPal, and there was some other company before that got acquired by a company for and he had 7% share in it, and so he made I think 12 million, or it's only 20 million off the 20 million off the first investment. And so I think once you got your first 20 million, if you make some wise investments, there's no what you're gonna
imagine how many times you could become a dame with 20 million.
Oh, so many times. Like you could, like you've got to be like a spy captain or something,
king.
right?
I think you can become a
king, emperor, empress, whatever you want. Okay, God. Okay. Like, so apparently his father was fairly well off, very well off.
Okay, I just want to put a slightly positive spin on this.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Well, okay, so if Elon Musk was to come out with a 7-step process of how to make savvy investments,
no,
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that because he's not saying because he did make savvy investments, right? He may have done it with his dad's money or whatever. But he has done some savvy
he's also
stuff.
Autistic.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not.
Maybe we'll
I'm not gonna. No. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that. Not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that being autistic, you're very, very good at numbers and things like that. You know, I don't have the discipline. You know what I mean? To be an Elon Musk, like that guy's obsessed. He's a workaholic.
We can't help you if you haven't got the discipline, but we can still give you the 7-step process. But what I'm saying is I would be okay with that, you know, like to say this is how I made my decisions about which investments to make. I'd be okay with that. He's not saying I had no money and I made investments and this is how I did it.
Okay.
So I think I just wanted to kind of put that spin on it because we're not completely down on people giving us their 7-step processes or whatever. It's just about making sure that it's in the right context and that they're transparent.
Yeah, it's got to be like you said originally, Laura. Authentic.
What did I say? Oh, did I? I should have.
No, you've said it a million times.
Oh,
it's about authenticity, right? That's about authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, don't make out shit that's not true.
Well, and actually, Luke and I have spoken about this extensively because Luke is also my fabulous coach, which I've said here before. And we've spoken about the coaching world, as Lindsay and I have. And the topic of conversation mainly is about how a lot of coaches / all coaches say that they can transform your life when it's simply just not possible, particularly with an online program or something like that. To promise to transform someone's life is, again, way out there in the magical realm. And it's dangerous because it's unrealistic expectations both for the client and for the coach. And so really we need to drill it down to something that's a little bit more tangible or baby steps rather than ta-da.
I'll give you maybe a reason why as well that it's impossible to transform like that is because what you're mostly talking about when people are transforming is it's usually not just one area. It's like this whole life area. So I guess that's one way that it makes it kind of unrealistic because there's a lot of external, which this is what we've been talking about, what you can control versus what you can't control.
Yeah.
How much is internally controllable versus what, and of course that's debatable, right? And various people are going to have more control maybe internally than others, right? Considering on how bad things are for them.
Thing.
Right, whatever. But you are talking about, in a lot of cases, people wanting to transform from their real self into their ideal self, and that could be there could be a big gap between those two things. And you're talking about identity change, and the thing is that when you have a certain identity, and that's, you know, what I mean by that is that can change. It can be kind of quite variable, but we do have like these kinds of narratives in our brain about who we are and what we do and all of those things, and they're fairly concrete, and that's kind of what we'd call our personality, right? And the thing is that when we try to change that, we try to push against that, there's all sorts of defense mechanisms that our brain is wired to do to kind of maintain a sense of self. And so what you get is all of this pushing against the way that our brain is trying to keep hold of an identity, because our identity is important for staying sane, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the problem with this, right, is then people can sort of say, oh yeah, but you got to push through that. But the problem is that pushing through that at a rate that you're not comfortable with, it can kind of lead to like mental breakdowns.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Seriously, that. because you do need to maintain a sense of self, a healthy sense of self. And so like trying to change everything in this like one go, two things, well, I think that's what self-sabotage is. That's one thing. I think it's your identity pushing back against you. It's your psyche pushing back against the fact that like, this is who you are. And so you've got to do that incrementally to convince your brain, because I don't know, I think your brain's in some ways quite rational. And so if you're trying to say to it, like, I'm a wealthy, successful person, and you're not, your brain just flags up that as going bullshit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so until you start to do things that actually show your brain that you are, which is really what true confidence is, incrementally over time, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to let you do that without some kind of repercussion. So either you just develop some ego that's trying to like paste over all the insecurities, or you're just like super anxious and frustrated, or you're totally over the moon for 3 weeks, and then you have this massive crash and you become kind of quite bipolar. Like all of these things I think could be a result of just trying to push that identity change so quickly.
That's so interesting, Luke. And I feel like I need to pause the recording and just sit and think about that for a minute. I won't, but
we don't do pause on this show, baby.
We don't. So you're just going to have to watch me, if you're watching on YouTube, like try and compute as I'm still trying to be part of this conversation.
Yeah.
But that's so fucking interesting, because, you know, we're talking about magical thinking, manifestation, like massive things, that certainty that business owners cling on to. But what's another certain thing within the small business owner world? It's self-sabotage, right? We love to self-sabotage ourselves. So it's really interesting. I've never heard that comparison before, or that in the same context around self-sabotage is, you know, trying to change too quickly, and kind of the personality or the ego or whatever pushing back. Like that in itself, I think, could potentially be liberating for some people to just go, slow the heck down.
Yeah, slow down, baby.
You know, manifest in terms of know what you want, and then set goals and look for opportunities to achieve that, if indeed you can still call that manifesting, but take baby steps so that your brain has the time to change slowly, so it has the time to know what's going on, to dip its toe in the water, get comfortable before it then tries to move on to the next thing. I think that's like blown my mind, Lucas Dixon.
Where's that noise, man? We're still waiting for it.
Yes.
I'll edit it in. It's all right.
I was just about to say, we didn't actually tell everyone that this is the man who also produces our podcast. Oh,
yeah.
Well.
Yeah, that's right. Does all the soundy sort of stuff, makes us sound great.
I cut and paste.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do yourself down, Lucas.
Yeah. He
anyway,
was the star of the last the marketing campaign. Yeah, it was so funny because he knows how much I hate marketing and all that sort of stuff. And then he goes, yeah, but that video you just did, like, that's marketing. I'm like, is it? And then we'll do an episode on it, Laura. Remind me to do an episode on the Don Funbus thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please, can all the listeners now, can you please write in and remind us to do an episode?
Yeah. So listen, I'm just going to throw, as I like to do, I'm just going to throw something in a spanner in the works here, right?
Okay.
Because I 100% agree with what Luke's saying.
That's good.
I want to add something.
Can I have that in writing?
Yeah. I want to add something though, just an extra little thing here. So we have where we are, where we want to be, and then trying to be too quick about that, and the brain comes in with sabotage. That's not you. Bang, bang, bang. Fuck. I'm on the couch. I'm eating ice cream. Right.
Lots and lots of ice cream.
Lots of ice cream, right? So that's it. What I want to do is go even a step even before that. And that vision of yourself, where's that come from? Is that even something you really, really want? Because Laura wanted a boat.
I wanted a really fucking big boat, Lucas. At least that's what I told myself. And I sabotaged the heck out of myself because I wasn't achieving that. But then it turned out I didn't want that anyway.
You didn't want it. Ha.
Discuss.
So what do you think? Like, what do you think is going on there?
Hello, coach mode.
When you say you, are you talking about me or Laura?
Laura,
or you
yeah.
inclusive?
I hear enough from you, Lindsay.
The answer is within me.
Yeah.
That's good. What was the question?
So what do you think?
All right,
is,
Lindsay. Do you...
Okay, so I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but I'm just going to say what's in my brain, not all of it, because that will terrify you. So I'll tell you why I wanted a boat, because I was immersed in a world where material things were your
like proxy
success. That was like your what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, your milestone,
your sign
like
of success.
Symbolic of success.
Right. And then I was also immersed in a world where I was made to believe that I could make lots of money, and therefore getting my boat was totally doable. So I would actually also visualize all the time my big boat, and I could see it like next to the pier thing. And my baby brain is in overdrive today. Next to the pier thing, and I'd be waving off some friends, and then other friends would be on my boat. Like, I had this vision, and it was so strong. And I don't know at what point I realized that I didn't want that. I do remember having conversations at different networking events randomly with old white men. I don't know if their ethnicity matters, but that's who it was, who had done that. They'd been successful in business, they'd had the cars, they'd had the boats, and then at some point they'd burnt out and they'd given it all up, and they'd realized that wasn't what they wanted. So I remember that started to trigger something in my brain. But I was also the queen of self-sabotage as well during that time when I was striving for the boat, which actually led me to burnout. And then through my journey to get out of burnout, that's when I started to understand my real personality, which is what you were talking about before, and actually get comfortable with that rather than trying to change it, actually looking at, actually, this is who I am. And I quite like that. So I can actually clear, it's not about changing who I am, it's about letting who I am come out to play and clearing the shit that's in the way. And then through that, I started to, my goals and my priorities started to shift, and my goals then became very much related to my values, and became very much related to actions that could allow me to be myself and allow that to flourish.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
It does. It does answer it, and it is bringing in that element that I'm speaking about. That like, you want to change your ID from this to this, but do you really? So so the sabotage can be two things. It's do you really, and it's also what Luke said. You do really, but you're doing it too quickly. You know what I mean? Like, that's not feasible for you right now. So those are the two things that I'm seeing with that ID change. You know, and we are talking about authenticity,
like there's two types of motivation that's very, very compelling to people. And one is like being drawn towards something because you want to grow and change. But a lot of the time, for a lot of people, it's not often defined in this way, but this is what it actually means in the psychological literature, which is negative reinforcement, right? Negative reinforcement is not the idea that you like get told something bad and then it makes you feel bad. That's not what negative reinforcement is. Negative reinforcement is getting away from something bad. That's what negative reinforcement is. So the idea is that I'll take away something bad, and that will motivate you to do that thing more if I take away that bad thing. So for example,
losing weight, right?
Well, no. So getting away the smoking example. The smoking example is that what happens is you get addicted to nicotine, and so when you haven't had a smoke for a while, your body goes into this sort of dopamine like lull, and so your body craves it because it doesn't have enough of the thing. And so when you have the smoke, when you're addicted, you're not actually feeling good. You think you're feeling good, not really. You're just getting away from the bad feeling. Because each time you have the smoke, you're getting away from the bad feeling. That motivates you to keep doing that thing.
Yeah, to smoke. Yeah.
And if I can relate that again to my situation, which I think will be relatable to people, is I actually really badly wanted to get away from the ordinary. I had a massive issue with being ordinary. I can't tell you how many hours I spent in a therapist chair crying because she was trying to get me to just say I'm good enough. Like I was like, but that's not good enough. So I was trying to move away from that. And for me, money and the boat and things like that, every time I could make some money, that was me moving away from that. I wasn't actually moving towards the boat. I was trying to move away from being ordinary. And in my brain, I needed money in order to do that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting. I don't know, like the other thing that comes into my mind here is about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, right? So the thing is that, of course, we need money. And of course, that's part of the measure of value and the fact that we need to exchange things, right? But beyond that, and we also need to feel social kind of approval, like from our peers and acceptance. But yeah, I think the problem with that is that the research sort of shows if you focus on that, and especially if you focus on that in a more over and above, more sort of psychologically deeper, I guess deep is the word, like emotional fulfillment, then you just your motivation gets tied to those things. So when you're achieving those things, that's great. You're really motivated. But if you're not achieving it, like everything is just tied to that. So they did studies where they gave workers, like people who were already intrinsically motivated. They were doing it because they loved it. They were doing it because it was interesting. They were doing it because it gave them a sense of belonging or whatever. They got those people and started giving them extrinsic incentives like money for doing the same job. And they found that then what happened is when they took that extrinsic incentive away, it made their motivation worse than it was before when they were doing it for intrinsic reasons.
And is that not then, sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. No, that's,
no, go
ask me a question. Yeah.
I just then the manifestation thing was coming back into my mind then, because largely I think we manifest extrinsic external things, right? So
yeah, that's what most people are doing. Yeah, most people don't go, I am now completely peaceful.
Yeah, I am myself.
Well,
I am myself.
It's two things though. It's you know what I think what's really, when manifestation is really, really prominent, there's some hints of it in the research I've been doing, because I haven't really talked to you about, I've talked to you about a lot about what I think, but I haven't really talked to you about what I've found, which is probably a bad scientist in me. But there is this kind of hint towards, I think it's actually when people want it all that they manifest. So it's when they've got conflicts between the extrinsic goals they have and the intrinsic goals. So because that's always the hardest thing to be able to balance. And I think that's what a lot of gurus and a lot of kind of these, they promise both. They promise you can have it all, that you can have the perfect relationships, perfect, and the extrinsic stuff, and then it makes you feel better about just going for those extrinsic goals, because you're like, oh yeah, but I care about these things too. And I don't know what it is about that, but that seems to be that's when people the people who manifest tend to want, like, this is something I found, so I guess I should tell you that they rate themselves as currently having attained a whole range of different goals. Maybe that's them just manifesting in real time, I don't know, but they also rate themselves as much more likely to achieve those things in the future. That includes not just extrinsic goals, but intrinsic goals. So a manifestor is higher or believes they can achieve everything more. So I don't
basically,
know.
are you saying, I want it all?
Oh, that was so in my head.
That's it.
I want it all.
Yeah. So that's it.
And then we look on social media, and that tells us that we can have it all.
Yeah, and so that's what the rest of the research sort of shows too, that basically, like, there's a real strong correlation, like really strong, between people who believe in manifestation and believe they can get rich quick. And so, and I don't know if that's just from the fact that they're just watching other gurus and people are talking about whether it's actually the manifestation belief system, but I think it's got, I'll tell you what I think it's got to do with, and I don't know if this is taking it off on another trajectory, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
That's fine.
I think it's got to do with the idea of manifestation is that if you think about things now, and if you perform symbolic kind of actions to the universe, so like writing a fake check to yourself, imagining in your mind what it's going to be like, because that's part of what you have to do in manifestations to feel like it's real now. You're going to be attracted to things that quickly give you that sense.
Yeah.
So,
True.
so like for example, I looked at multi-level marketing, it's all there for you. It's all set out. There's the pyramid that you have to climb up to get to the top and get those. That's the way that you make money. It's all set out for you. You can climb these levels. They're very impressive leadership titles. And these are companies like Amway and Herbalife and stuff like that, right? And you can, become a brand ambassador or an entrepreneur like instantly.
So it's like instant status sort of thing. So it's almost like yeah.
And if you believe in manifestation, then those things are really important. You've got to set all that up in your mind first, so that then that sets the manifestation process in process. So I don't know, but that's where I think maybe why manifestation is attracted to these kind of get rich quick schemes and that as well. And plus, they're just a belief that it's possible. Whereas people who don't believe in that, they haven't been told that it's possible all the time. They're probably told the opposite. It's not possible. It's not really, it's very rare that people get rich quick. I mean, so I found that people are more likely to invest, they're more likely to rate themselves as being able to make money out of multi-level marketing, to find it more credible, they're more attracted to it, they're more likely to participate in it. But then also like they're more likely to hold cryptocurrency and like sort of more
of these manifestors.
Manifest.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it seems to just be these things around getting rich quick or just
and more likely to be bankrupt.
I was going to ask what's the impact of that. Yeah, right.
But the problem is as well is it's hard to see those things, right? So the one thing, on one hand, manifestors are really confident about themselves and their abilities. They've got a higher sort of more positive sense of self. But on the downside, it's these subtle things that you're never going to connect to manifestation. You're probably never going to connect the fact that 10 years ago you were bankrupt, and that because you were a manifestor, you were more likely to have had that happen to you, perhaps, and so or my research doesn't show this, but is it the opposite way around? Is it that if you're bankrupt and you've had those poor financial circumstances, that makes you more likely to believe as well because of this ambiguity, or I'm not sure which direction it goes in, but it does seem like there's some downsides of believing this. And the other thing is, just the last thing is, they're not more likely to be financially successful. So they're not more likely to earn more income than anyone who doesn't believe in manifestation. So
interesting.
Yeah, and that's that's science.
Yeah, that's science in it.
It's science.
So shut up.
I just want to say
all your haters.
off the back. I just want to say off the back of that, right, that I know quite a lot of people as well who are friends, who are definitely manifestors, and for all intents and purposes, you look at their social media and they're really successful people, and I know for a fact they're in massive credit card debt. So this is the thing. This is the problem that I'm having with the whole thing, because it does lend itself to, I'm going to say lying. I don't want to say lying, but it is. You're sort of saying, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am completely rich and healthy and happy, right? But I'm like shitting diarrhea in the toilet and I'm bankrupt. You know what I mean? And so this is kind of like, where is the line between this is sort of what I'd like to sort of happen, or this is my goals, or this is what I'd like to sort of work towards, or this is it now. Yeah, exactly. I've just said this thing and that's it now. That's it, Yeah,
because that was what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the line is when it feels bad to be saying those things to yourself. That's one line. Do you know what I mean? So if you're getting anxious when you're saying those things, yes,
it's probably not true.
Yeah, that's bad.
I just put my hand up because I had a thought and I didn't want to lose the thought. But now I'm talking about losing the thought. I think I'm losing it. What was my thought?
No, don't. Come on.
It's there.
What did you say again? What did you say before that?
If it feels bad, if you're saying it and it feels
Okay,
bad.
yes. Yeah. So I was thinking about this earlier for some reason. I don't know why. Around that question. So around if it's the right goals that we're striving for, or, whatever, is to ask that question. Is it, and if you're doing the right thing. So it could be sitting on the couch and eating ice cream, for example. Okay, that's it. So if you're behaving in a way that doesn't feel great, asking yourself, is this preventing me from being myself and achieving what I want? If the answer is yes, then that's when you need to adjust behavior somewhat. So I think that question can also be asked within this manifestation is, with me trying to manifest this magical scenario.
I'm obsessed with the boat.
Yeah. Is it actually moving me towards what I want, or is it actually holding me back or preventing me from having what I want or feeling how I want or having the relationship that I want or whatever? And then if the question is, okay, it's not actually working for me, that's when you can then look at what it is that you're trying to manifest. And then maybe adjust it and make it a bit more realistic. So in your friend's example, it would be, well, I'm actually in credit card debt. My toilet's blocked. This isn't actually giving me.
Yeah, but Laura, that's just
they wouldn't
what's
ask
the
that.
word? It's poverty mindset. You can't focus on that. See, this is the problem, right?
Yeah,
because if you're just focusing on that, you have to.
And you've probably manifested that anyway. To be honest, it's all your fault.
Oh God, when does it end, guys? Like, what, is there a solution, or is it just hopeless?
I like this is like what you're suggesting is that's what it should be like, right? That's what we should do, right? That's what we should do. It's just that it's a bit hard. It's hard when people are very motivated towards, their goals that they want. Like if I'd said that to you when you were really, really wanting that boat, it would have been hard for you to accept that. You know what I mean? And
that's true.
And it's a lot of sunk costs too. So the idea that you've already put all this effort in time and money and to change your beliefs. So I don't know. Like I think it is interesting. It's like, how do you do this in a way that's
it's hard. It's because kind of like your mindset is the thing that's stopping you from seeing the truth, but you're motivated to keep that mindset from seeing the truth.
Wow, this is fucked, guys. I don't think that we have a solution.
Oh my God, for the first time ever.
We can have a solution. I'm confident. How many minutes have we been going for?
Oh,
like, how long have we got to come up with this solution?
Ages, whatever. Who cares? Whatever.
I don't even know how to come up with
this
solution.
I mean, it's coming. We're out of names.
It's coming.
Much.
It's coming.
No, we can't stop now.
Hallelujah.
No way. No way.
No. Look, there's no simple solution to a complex problem.
Oh,
I think we kind of know
well,
that. I mean, that's where it comes back. Okay, I've got it. That's where it comes back. Okay. So I'm seeing this girl doing the TEDx. She's telling me that it's as simple as just basically saying all this shit to yourself. But there are no simple answers to complex problems. Basically, that's it.
I agree. I have to say that, like, you know why? Part of it is because we want that. It's very motivating.
I want it.
Yeah.
And be honest
we
that
all
you
want
want
clarity. Yeah, we all want clarity. Yeah.
And an easy life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. I would love to. I mean, I don't even want a boat, but if I was to manifest one, I mean, that's cool.
I would say no.
They always say no, right?
But
that's right.
And I think what you're saying though about, like, we said this, I don't know if we really like doubled down on it, but the idea that, like, a single person, whether it's Elon Musk or anyone any idea that they can reflect on their own experiences and tell you what worked for them is actually really hard to do. And that's because of the biases we have towards explaining our successes through our own, like, because of our own doing, and our failures through of situational factors.
There's research on that, right?
Yeah. It's just natural. And we often see illusory causality. So it's the same with manifestation, but it can be the same in just everyday thinking, that we go, okay, so I had this thought and then this thing happened, so those things must be connected. Or I have this kind of personality, and so therefore, like, I've got a really resilient, tough personality, and that's what led to this thing and that thing. But we've just made those correlations. It's natural, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the case. So when we look to these role models as the kind of solution, because they're we look up to them so much, doesn't mean that they haven't got words of wisdom, but the idea that any kind of thing could be transmitted down from them that's going to be the answer to all your problems, or a simple solution. It's just what. And the other thing is, why is Elon Musk going to write you a book about the 7 steps? What? Because he's just really altruistic. He really wants to help you all.
I don't know. Look, I can't speak for Elon Musk. I mean, but the thing is that I really do think that if you see a couple who is in an argument and you ask them what the reason for the argument is, you're going to get two different fucking stories.
And so, why don't you give us an example, guys?
There's too many to troll through.
There's lots of different ideas about what could be causing someone's success or failure.
Exactly. A lot of different ideas, behind
so God,
why
for God's sake,
happens.
take wisdom with a grain of salt, including everything that we're saying. That's what we're saying.
Don't believe us.
Critical.
Yeah, fucking whatever.
Yeah. be skeptical, and I think it's really important because you got to think like what is people's motivations for putting out these 7 steps to success? If they were, it's either they're incredibly rich and they just want to give back now, or they're making more money out of selling you success than they are of doing their own successful ventures.
I think it's probably the latter.
Yeah. So,
you have little faith.
I was optimistic before this episode.
I know. What's happened to you?
No, I am going to I reckon, Laura, you have the wisdom here. I agree that understanding your values is like one of the most important things, and understanding who you are and how you work.
Yes. Yes.
There are going to be some things about that are going to be disadvantageous. It's not going to be great that, you're low in conscientiousness and high in openness and like low in agreeableness as personalities go. That might be in some situations not that great. So you need to know.
Sounds like me. Yeah.
I was just thinking that. Stop telling everyone about who we are.
But that's really, those things you can't just change like you can, but in some situations you may be able to turn it on and just sort of but you're not being able to do that for your whole life. And so it's about knowing, I guess, like as you move to, so I'm just trying to think of solutions here because it is important to leave our guests with something to hold on.
Not with a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
Two things. One is there's this thing called mental contrasting, which is super, like it was based on, I guess, a couple of psychologists like discontent with the idea of manifestation. And so they said, well, what can work? And one is that you do have to have these big abstract goals, right? It's good. It gives you hope. It gives you like something to work towards. And really, like if we didn't have big goals, like and Elon Musk is a great example of this. He's been able to do a lot of really interesting things in the world by having these amazingly big goals that no one else thought was achievable. So that's okay. But it's just like, okay, so then now that you've focused on that was kind of step one, because it gets you in a state where you're kind of opening to possibilities and you're in a more positive state. You're not thinking about everything that you lack. Then you think about where you are now, and then so you're contrasting those two states, and this is what I think it is anyway. It might be wrong, but if you look up mental contrasting, you'll find out. And then you have to ask yourself the question, like as I move towards that, like what's going to come up that's going to get in my way? Like what are all the possibilities about what could happen now? We've been talking about this, maybe both of us have been talking with me about this, I don't know, but like about the idea of goal setting. And I'm starting to believe that goal setting is one of the most stupid things that we can ever do. And I know that's really...
I love that.
I really think so. And I'll tell you why. You cannot possibly know, especially when it's a big goal that you have absolutely no fucking idea how to achieve. Right? How are you supposed to know whether you can achieve that goal or not in the length of time that you've put in your SMART goal or whatever? You have no idea. None of us do, and so it's good to have the goal. It's just not good to think you're going to be able to achieve it, and in a certain time frame. And so then you have to back things up, right? To a goal that you can achieve, right? So that's
bring
fine.
it back down, reverse
it. Bring it back down, bring it back down. You can have several little small goals. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm moving towards that, I'm going to at least have to achieve this first one. So, and I know I could achieve this in 6 months. Do you know what I mean? And I also am pretty aware, and the most important thing I think we're coming to here is not just whether you're internally capable, although that's important, right? What your values are. Do you want the goal? Is it compelling to you? Have you got the competency to be able to achieve this goal?
Skills
that's really important. Not just I'm living my truth and I deserve to have everything I want, right? Can you actually carry this out? Do you have the skills and capabilities to be able to do this, or do you need to learn or find out? And then the other thing is like all the external things that is going on in your life. Okay, so
yes, you know what
you're
comes
having
up to You know what comes
You're
to
having
mind?
a child. Yeah, when we moved up to Queensland, that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, when we moved to Queensland, right? We thought, cool, we're doing this big thing. So we factored in, what if this thing happens? But what actually happened was about 5 fucking things happen. And just totally, we just went, because we didn't factor in. We thought there could be a little problem. What happens if all the little problems happen at once? Then what? Right? So it's kind of like, the more realistic you can make it, the closer to where you are, the more that it's the next logical step for you. Yeah. The easier it is to get to Mars, right?
And then also that allows you to hopefully, I don't know if override is the right word, but what you were talking about before, Luke, around the self-sabotage and trying to change too quickly, if it's reverse engineered back down to those more logical steps and doable steps, it allows your brain to come along for the ride as well, rather than it constantly trying to hold you back and push you back.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to be moving in a way that like is just logical, that's what you can do, right? Like, I don't know.
And I think as well, because I am a dreamer. I'm a dreamer.
Who isn't?
Yes, I knew there was a song in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And what I've learned though is I believe it's okay to have these big, hairy, audacious goals. I fucking hate that saying. But it's okay to have that. But then, like you're saying, Luke, you kind of have to let go of how you're going to get that and just come back to now. You know, I've got big dreams around Banterpreneurs and where that can go, but I don't know where that's going to go. Number one, I don't have the knowledge to know, you know, how to make it what I'd love to make it. I don't have the connections, resources, all that shit right now. I don't even know exactly what I want it to be.
But I would suggest I would suggest that no one has the knowledge to know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because it's never been done. Like we are us doing our thing. No one has been us doing our thing before.
Exactly. So all we can do is do our thing as best as we can right now, and then like we're doing, then we'll add levels onto it, and then we'll see where that will go. So we know roughly where we would like to go, but we're not attached to 7 steps in order to get there. We're actually just taking each step as it comes, and then each step kind of feels like it sort of we know what to do at each step, right? We, you know.
I just thought of something you brought saying up too. God, this could go on forever. The thing is that people, and this is the manifesting thing. So say you've got this great big goal and this and this and this, and say you start to feel incongruous about it, right?
Is that a word?
Like not congruent with it, right?
Yeah,
so say you feel that. If you're a manifester, you think it's sabotage when it could actually be, no, this is not right for me.
Yeah. It just means, you might need to shift direction a bit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Open possibility. It's not just I have to use these 7 steps and it has to be this thing and it has to be this way.
It's interesting actually, isn't it? Because I think when you manifest, you think that you're very open, you have a very open mindset. But actually, is it quite a closed mindset?
Oh, yes.
Well, I have data on that.
Right.
So there's no science.
So I measured that, right? So I had this manifestation scale that measures people's degree of manifestation. And then I measured like a week later, I measured whether or not people have this kind of fixed versus growth mindset. So some of these statements that people respond to is like to do with like, is intelligence fixed? Or it's going to change over time? Can I learn or grow over time? Or a leopard can't change its spots? You know, like these two, there's no relationship there. So what that means is some manifestors have a growth mindset, some have a fixed mindset. There is no correlation there, which is interesting. That was very interesting. I figured the same thing. I thought that manifestors would have this kind of like, you know, open kind of mindset about what's possible but for themselves, but it doesn't seem that way. It seems like it's more about manifestors have a more confidence that the world is full of possibilities, but not themselves. So it seems to be more that way. Well, it's all externally oriented stuff that manifestors suggest that they can have more of most of the time. Like when I say that, it's kind of like there's some internal goals that they can get, like relationships and like make social contributions, but it seems like it's more about instead of like, I can change myself, because there was no relationship there with thinking you can, right? Believing in you can. So it doesn't seem like it's more driven like, I can change myself. I have more confidence I can change myself. It's more like I have more confidence that things are going to come to me from the outside, and that's going to change my life. And so again, that's weird, isn't it? Because we've been talking this whole time
kind of
about
entitled, really.
Well, maybe it makes you, but it's again, it is this externally oriented thing. Like basically, maybe I didn't measure. I have measured this. Let me back up. I haven't published this stuff I'm just about to say, but there's this sense that manifestors are more, they believe they can control external circumstances like luck. Okay, but not necessarily, they're not more likely to believe that they can control things by their own inner sort of world. So it's a difference between like control, like it's called a locus of control. So internal locus of control it's usually what is correlated with entrepreneurial activities, sort of being sort of real self-starters, self-motivators. So manifestors aren't more likely to be that way inclined. They're more likely to believe, though, they can have control of things that normally are by chance.
Out of control.
That they can't control. No.
It's looking good.
So if you ask them,
we had the happy ending and it's fucking gone. All right. So
well, therein lies the problem, I think, which I think might bring it back round.
Brings back to the goal setting that we've just been talking about. Right. You set a goal.
Yes.
You don't think about all the external things that are going to go wrong because I've got manifestation.
On my side. Right. I'm in control of it. Right? Yeah.
And also, did I cut you off then, Luke?
Well, no. I'm going to leave by saying, and then I'm just going to turn off my screen.
Are you just going to like turn off your screen?
Yeah. Don't leave us like
oh my God, no. Yeah. No, I've never done that before.
Then maybe part of the solution is, and we're just spitballing here, but maybe part of the solution is trying to just at least factor those things in and not block them out of when you're setting goals. So instead of using manifestation as the only way, if you want to use it, whatever, right? But just consider the external things that could happen that are luck and chance, and try to plan for what you might do if those come up, or at least just consider that there's a lot of stuff that can happen that's not within our control.
Okay, I've got to say this. I have to say this in a different way because you're too scientific, okay? They're not going to listen, okay?
That's why you guys work. Tell us in layman's terms.
No, I'll tell you in manifestation terms.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay, we all ride two white horses. One is fate and one is free will, okay?
They're unicorns.
They're unicorns, okay? So one is fate and one is free will. Right. So if you don't get what you want, it's not that you're a bad person and that you've manifested it. It's just that it was fate and it's doing it for your own good.
Oh.
Okay. So if
that's
you're a
what
manifestor,
manifestors are going to believe anyway. That's what we believe. That's a good thing. That's what makes us feel better. Right?
I have a thing.
Okay.
That I think brings it all together.
Please.
You always
do it. Now,
one word that I think brings all of this together, all the different tangents that we've been on, is ownership. God damn it. Because what Luke was just saying a minute ago around manifestors tend to believe more in the external things coming to them rather than their intrinsic stuff. Therein, I think, lies the problem, because we can't control the external stuff, but we can control the way we respond to it. So if we actually focused more on ourselves and took ownership of who we are, what we really want, where we're really at, then we're going to be able to manage whatever comes our way more easily. And then that also brings in what we spoke about before in terms of people not saying about their real journey, or people making up their journey. They need to take ownership of where they're at and what they've done, so that they are giving a realistic or are giving realistic expectations to people. So I think, if I was to drill it down to one thing for the listeners or the viewers, is about ownership. Own who the heck you are, where the heck you're at, what the heck you really want, and then taking those little steps for all the reasons we just discussed.
And it's not glamorous, guys. It's not glamorous.
No,
it's
but
just
neither
not.
is being a podcast guest in your boxer shorts.
I think that's the height of glamorousness. I feel that's a first world problem. I feel like
yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys agree with that?
I think that was a good summation.
Something to add.
Okay,
I've got one thing to add, like Columbo at the end of the episode. Right?
Okay. Gumshoeers.
That was Popeye.
I would add to that maybe that taking ownership also probably includes taking ownership of where you've come from, and realizing that there are just, if you've got these linear goals rather than thinking of it in a circular way or anything, or developmental way, if you think that like everything's just, you just got to race for this kind of goal, there are going to be some people that are in front of you in that race who are the same age and the same capabilities. And maybe not, maybe you're the one in front. So do you know what I mean? Like you could, and I think that's what we're talking about too, is about just being honest. And understanding that there are going to be some things that you've had that are, I don't know if you want to call them privilege or no, let's not even call them privilege, just that put you on a just a little bit in front in certain ways, the leg up.
You got the leg up.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but you don't want to spread that kind of illusion that is not helpful for someone, for example, who has a lot of barriers. So if you've got, I know this is controversial, but if you've got barriers in your life that have prevented you from being able to do things for whatever it is, whether it's disability, whether it's like family situations, or the fact that you've got parenting things, whatever, it could be anything. You've got to own those things. Like they're part of your past, they're part of what you do, and you have to understand that they're part of, you can't escape those things. Do you know what I mean? Like they're part of you, and you have to incorporate those into your idea of who you are. And that's also part of, I think, like what, it doesn't mean you can't move ahead. It doesn't mean you can't become a very different person as you move through your life, but it's just, you can't just escape it by manifesting yourself into a new person.
Forward.
And then, you've got to accept that and move.
And the good thing about that too is that you're just not as hard on yourself. It's not such a massive jump from where you are to where you want to be.
I think that's the worst thing we do as humans is trying to be somewhere else than where we're at. And I'm the biggest, guiltiest person. I've always wanted to be somewhere else than where I'm at. And the more I can be comfortable with where I'm at, guess what? The further I move towards
exactly.
those
that's
things that
the
I want.
weird thing
And
about it.
The more fun you have on the way. As well. So that's it, really. I was going to summarize that in a very profound statement, but I won't, because I've forgotten what I was saying.
I think so. You did the summation before. I think that is exactly right. It's just being honest with yourself and owning who you are. Yeah.
Well,
that feels good.
I think we concluded that very succinctly in 3 hours?
Yeah.
If you're still with us, thank you.
Yes. And if not, who cares?
No one will ever know. It's fine.
No. It's all right. If you left halfway through, you said, I don't know about this. That's all good, because we're just who we are and where we are.
Doing our thing. I would like to thank you, Lucas Dixon, for being our guest today. It's nice to have an intellectual voice.
Scientist. Yeah.
I've done the learnings.
That's
me.
I
got myself educated.
I'm pretty sure we're going to get you on again, because there's so many more things we can talk about. But muchos gracias.
No, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. And I just want to say, you lasses are doing fantastic work, and I reckon just really unique take on things in the business world. And so I wish you all the best, and great things will come of this, I'm sure. If you keep
Oh,
manifesting.
Confucius said.
If you keep manifesting. All right.
Right now, I'm going to
Write it
manifest a big bowl of pasta because
I'll do
I'm
it.
hungry.
Oh.
And
Do it.
I know that will happen.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe because I'm married to an Italian who owns a pasta restaurant. But no, it's definitely manifestation, guys.
Yeah, that's what
We
it is.
manifested him. So
Yes.
all those pasta visualizations.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
all the years of restricting carbs that made me manifest an Italian. Anyway, we digress. Thank
All
you
right.
for listening.
So do
Thank
I
you
get
for
to do
being
the
here.
bang this time?
Yes, go.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
it.
All right. Bang.
Bye.
You've been listening to Banterpreneurs. If you have a question for us to answer on the show, submit it on our website at banterpreneurs.com. And if you liked what you heard, give us a review and share the love with a fellow business mate. See you next week for more solopreneur shenanigans.